More end of the summer. It's Tuesday, August 21st, and I'm your host, Paula Hersey. On today's show, we get a lesson on how to keep our local drinking water safe and learn more about beach schedules for the remainder of the summer. First, let's start with some news you can use. The Town of Barnstable Department of Public Works Solid Waste Division, in collaboration with the Barnstable County, is holding a household hazardous waste collection at the transfer station on August 25th. At 45 Flint Street, Marston's Mills. Hazardous waste collections are free to Barnstable residents. Participants must have either a paid household trash sticker or free recycling sticker to participate. Stickers are available during normal business hours at the transfer station, including on the collection day. The hours of the hazardous waste collection are 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. For questions about this project, call PJ Kelleher at 508-420-2258 or refer to the town's website. Lifeguards, bathhouses, and beaches will have some changes in the coming days and weeks. We find when and where with Barnstable Recreation Assistant Director John Gleason. More end of the summer activities. Can't believe it's really the end of the summer. With me today, John Gleason, Assistant Director of Barnstable Recreation. The beaches are starting to slow down a little bit.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a sad moment for all of us. A lot of our staff, in particular lifeguards, supervisors, are back to college or back to their real job, or back to high school sports that are coming up very shortly. So we will be closing down some sites in the near future because of lack of staff.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that. Lack of staff, beach operations kind of like get scaled back. Let's talk about the areas that do not have a lifeguard after a certain period of time.
Yep, so we always try to make sure that we keep lifeguards on where we feel like we can service the most amount of public. So we try to close down a lot of our smaller sites that aren't as big as other ones first. So the first one that closed down was Hamlin's Pond. And that was yesterday. They finished up with their swim carnival where the swim lesson kids came to the beach. And then yesterday, going forward, we have a gate attendant on. So the bathrooms will still be open for a day or so, and then it will just be closed completely. And then if people would like to go there, they're still more than welcome to swim there. There's just no facilities available to them. So they could go to like Joshua's Pond, Dallas's Beach, or Quacket Lake. Something like that for the next few days.
Right, so those are some of the larger sites that will have those folks. So let's run down how we're going to kind of like roll through these areas.
Yeah. So starting the 17th is kind of the next sort of cut that we have. And that will be Loop Beach, Quacket Lake, Joshua's Pond, and Millway Beach, where we're losing that amount of lifeguards that we can't cover the towers. But fortunately enough, we will have gate attendants there that will be checking parking permits. They'll have the bathrooms open, so at least people can still go to those facilities, enjoy the beach, and have a facility to go to the bathroom. And like I said, it's a hard decision for us to make. But when we don't have lifeguards, there's nothing we can really do about it. And, so those are for those dates. And then after that, the 22nd will be closing down with lifeguards C Street Beach. The 23rd will be Calmus Beach, and the 24th will be Veterans Beach. So pretty much after that, it will be Colville's, Craigville, Dallas's Sandy Neck. and we go as long as we can until we can. We have to have minimum requirements of lifeguards on duty so they can, cover the water and rotate out and stuff like that. So we, like I said, we do our best and try to make it work.
Right. Well, really long summer. We just went to the lifeguard competition last week, which was absolutely phenomenal. So we know these kids have worked really hard all summer long to keep folks safe. We've had, obviously some incidents at our beaches where they were right there and their training kicked in. So let's talk a little bit about how to keep folks safe when there isn't a lifeguard on the beach.
I mean, the biggest thing is always, if you're going to go swimming, swim with a partner. Just if you go by yourself, there's no one watching you. If something happens in the water, there's no one by your side to help you out. So that's always the biggest thing. I would just call upon a friend, just or let people know where you are, what you're doing, and if you don't have someone to go with, then just swim close to shore. So at least if something happens, at least you could stand up and you'd be all right. But like I said, you should always get a partner to go swimming with.
That's the best advice out there.
Yeah.
So our smaller sites will be, some of them are closed the next week or so. It's just going to be a rolling piece. The bathhouses, gate attendants, things like that.
We'll try to make sure that we post it on our Facebook page and try to get it onto the town's Facebook page, and all those sort of things are linked to our Twitter pages and stuff like that. And which I forgot to mention, if you're going to be bringing your children to these locations, the adults, guardians, whoever is supervising that day should always be within, arm's length of their child or supervising them, trying to stay off your cell phone. I know earlier this summer we posted a piece from Good Morning America about parents going to a pool party, and, with all the distractions of being on your cell phone, cooking and grilling, talking to friends, you kind of lose track of your children.
Right.
And we know everyone in this community loves their children, so try to avoid any distractions. Stay off your cell phone. Try not to read a book. If your kids are in the water, pay good close attention to them, because you should be the first one to be able to respond to them. And that goes the same as if we had lifeguards on duty. The parent or guardian should be the closest person to their child swimming, and then we're there to assist from there.
Right. And I remember as a kid having some friends that weren't really well suited in the water. They hadn't had a lot of swim lessons. Just put a flotation device on these kids.
Yeah, you can always do that. The one that I see mostly, and what I put on my own child, is one that has the things around both arms, and then it goes around their back. Sometimes if they just have the arm floaties, those could slip off and fall off. Even if they have a kickboard or something like that, that could get away from them, and then they would be trying to swim out to it, and so it just makes things difficult.
Right. So be safe in the water. Check the Facebook page. You'll see which sites have closed facilities, as well as lifeguards. All going back to school.
Yep. I know my wife would be upset because she's a teacher, so she doesn't want to hear that word back to school yet. She wants to enjoy the summer, the rest of the summer with our own kids, but school is approaching, and summer's ending soon. But we have still 2.5 weeks left till Labor Day, so get out there and enjoy every bit of it.
Excellent. Thank you so much, John.
Thank you very much.
It's my favorite day of the week when we talk to the police chief. Chief Sonneman, how are you?
Great. How are you today?
I'm well. So,
how was your weekend?
My weekend was uneventful because it was not a very nice weekend weather-wise, so I read a book.
Well, uneventful is good.
It is.
Summer's kind of winding down, time to get into school mode and all that good stuff.
And it's always nice for a rainy day just to hunker down and just relax a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like you'll get your wish tomorrow.
There you go. So we had some movement on the stabbing at Keys.
Yes, we did. And as you recall, on the 12th, we got called down to Keys Beach because there was a report of a party and a disturbance. We got down there, and officers found about 150 people had gathered to have like a party in the picnic area up by the snack bar. This was after 5 o'clock at night, closer to 5:30. And during the time they were packing up and getting ready to leave, there was an argument, and one individual did get stabbed. Detectives have been working on that for a couple of days, and on the 14th, they were able to finally identify an individual that lived in Centerville by the name of Damian Frey. He's 31, and they were able to arrest him. They also served a search warrant at his home, and during that search warrant, they found a loaded handgun that was in the possession of another individual, a 46-year-old man by the name of Neil Woolery, and he was placed under arrest and charged with the unlawful possession of the firearm and unlawful possession of ammunition. And they were held they were arrested, brought down to court, and they were held, and there was a dangerousness hearing that was supposed to take place yesterday, but I do not have the results of that yet.
Okay.
And hopefully they were held, because obviously they were dangerous.
Exactly. Let the courts do their jobs like they're supposed to, and get these people off the street. And kudos to the detectives that work diligently to get these individuals.
Yep, they turned over every rock and they found them. So
excellent.
Off the street they go.
Excellent. So let's talk a little bit about school safety. We're starting next week. It's been, top of mind awareness for a lot of folks out there, but Barnstable Police Department has a great school resource officer program, and you've got your officers all picked for the schools, I hear.
Yes, we do. We we have 4 officers. One of them is returning. He's been there many years over at the high school, and that is Detective Reed Hall. He's been with us several years. And then we not really added so much, Dennis Stamfel. He's a patrol officer. He was over at Barnstable Intermediate School last spring, and he'd been a long-term adopt-a-school officer for the Barnstable Intermediate School. He has now been moved into one of our 3 newest school resource officer slots. He is being joined by Officer David Downs, who is also a long-time adopt-a-school officer in the town, and he's also joined. And the 3rd officer is going to be Officer Joe Carnes, who has also been a long-time participant in the adopt-a-school program and has coached youth sports on various levels throughout the community. All 3 officers, actually all 4 officers, are in training this week here at the PD. We're hosting a national school resource officer training. So they're down there getting that training. They went off to school earlier in the summer to Alice training, and we are expecting to send them back to a follow-up Alice training to make them instructors for that course as well.
So tell me how the Adopt-a-School program morphed into permanent SRO positions.
Well, the Adopt-a-School program works mainly with the elementary and was working with the intermediate school, but obviously after the events of Parkland, and talking with the school, we decided to step up the security a little bit. But what the Adopt-a-School program was officers volunteered their time. They went to the schools at various times throughout the year, participated in school programs, worked with school staff. Some of the schools had like mini police academies. Others, the officers would read to the kids, have lunch with the kids, do an after-school program kind of thing. So it was kind of different from school to school, identifying what the school wanted to do and the kids there and what worked best with the different kids in the different districts in town. So what happened was these officers had been participating in that program for a while, and when it came time to start looking for officers, the natural choice was officers that had been participating in programs like that, had some experience with the kids, and had shown that they had an interest. So that when we were looking for the 3 newest officers, those 3 who had all been adopted school officers applied and were selected. It certainly was beneficial to have them already in the school with the kids. The kids were familiar with them. They'd done things with the kids. So it was really just kind of a no-brainer to pick people like them. However, the Adopt-a-School program is not going away. That program will still continue.
Right, and was this part of a grant that you guys got to fund these positions?
For the
school
resource officer positions?
Yeah.
No, what we did is we have hired some new civilian dispatchers, and so that's freed up a little bit of staff. So what we're doing is we're kind of shifting some people around and putting them into newer positions and trying to find things for them to do. And the school resource officer is kind of a no-brainer. It's like I said, it's something we've wanted to do for a while, and we're going to give it a shot and pull some things together and work with the town and with the schools and make this happen.
Well, you're making it happen right now, and
Yep.
we wish all of them good luck in their first week of school next week.
I appreciate it.
Excellent. We'll talk to you next week, Chief.
Have a great day.
You too.
Bye.
Do you love your local water? Well, help keep it drinkable and clean. Calliope Chute from the Barnstable County Extension joined us in studio to talk about Barnstable's hazardous waste collection event coming up this Saturday at the transfer station. Where does hazardous waste go? It shouldn't go in our water. With me today, Calliope Chute from the Barnstable County Extension. Love your local water.
Hi, Paula.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm really well. Today is going to be a little bit of education for our residents.
Okay.
Because top of mind awareness says we take something to the transfer station and out of mind, it's gone, right?
That magical way.
That magical way. It just goes away and we don't have to worry about it. But you're going to teach us today a little bit about our water and our single aquifer and why we do hazardous waste collections 4 times a year here in the town of Barnstable. So let's start with the water.
Okay. Well, Cape Cod has a really rare and unique water source, rare to our region and rare across the country. And that's what's called an unconfined sole source aquifer. Because, I mean, as your residents know, we live on a sandbar, so whatever gets poured on the ground has the, pardon me, the potential to join our aquifer. And on Cape Cod, all 15 towns have one aquifer that connects them, so we're all kind of like communities connected by water in a really real sense. So we have this, and that's what's the unconfined sole source aquifer. Unconfined means that what goes onto the ground can end up in the aquifer because there's no protection. Like some places in the country have bedrock protection, and the recharge takes like 1,000,000 years, right? So, but on the Cape, every time it rains, our aquifer gets recharged. So it's kind of fascinating. From Provincetown to Bourne and vice versa, we all share the same water source. That's the sole source aquifer. It's pretty fascinating.
It is, and when we talk about hazardous materials, before this interview, we were chatting about what we were going to talk about, and you had mentioned, you know, people think that the water treatment center takes out all the stuff that goes into the water, but it doesn't.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that's just too toxic to trash, and a lot of things that don't go down the drain or in your backyard because it just can't be processed like by our natural infrastructure of sand and gravel, and also not by treatment facilities because they're not designed necessarily to treat for chemicals. They're designed to treat for what comes out of your home and out of your body. So it gets a little difficult to take out pesticides and pharmaceuticals and that kind of thing from the water treatment facilities, absolutely.
So when we're talking about water and our trash and our hazardous materials, I bring them to the dump. I mean, shouldn't that suffice?
Maybe in a perfect world, but there is no fixed facility for the collection of hazardous waste on Cape Cod currently. And so towns rely on pop-up events like the household hazardous waste events that we have on Cape Cod for the last 25 plus years. And what that means is a contracted chemical waste disposal company comes to your town, or in some cases a zone, and collects on behalf of the county and the town. So Barnstable has 4 free for the residents hazardous waste collections in 2018. One we did in April, and then we have the next one on June 23rd, which is between 9 and noon time. And that allows the town residents, anyone that has a transfer station sticker or a recycle sticker, they can come into the transfer station and get rid of that stuff that's just too toxic to trash.
Okay, so let's talk about the too toxic to trash, which I absolutely love as an acronym there. I think we can make a little graphic with it. Too toxic to trash. What are some of those items?
People think that they don't have hazardous materials in their home, and I get it. It's a scary term. You know, the skull and crossbones doesn't really resonate with, you know, the your home. People don't want to think that they have that in there, but we regularly collect pesticides, boat gas, household cleaners, fertilizers that have insecticides or other pesticides in them, pool chemicals, all that kind of stuff that is like ignitable, corrosive, toxic, acidic, etc. That just doesn't belong in the trash. It can't be processed by the solid waste haulers, and is very dangerous at an incinerator facility if the town uses one ever.
Okay. And the hazardous waste collection on Saturday, June 23rd from 9 to noon.
Noon, promptly.
Promptly, exactly.
Close at noon.
and it's busy.
Yeah.
The last time I went, we waited in line patiently, and then you were so very generous as we got there. You're like, what do you have in your trunk? And everybody's in the hazmat suit. But let's talk about how residents can go through their homes and start to identify this. The shed, right? So
Oh, yes.
we're looking at,
shed.
you know, half-used containers of things, or, you know, it's got a little bit left in it. What are they taking to you?
Well, it really depends on what the product is in the container. And knowing what's in the container is really important, because sometimes people do secondary containering with no labeling. So I get really old chemicals from sheds and barns and outbuildings from Cape Cod, and it's really not clear what's in there. So in that sense, I would rather take the whole bottle. But if it's like just an empty paint can, empty's empty, and that can be recycled.
Okay.
We don't really parse out what people bring unless it's not hazardous waste, because the cost for the town to pay for things that aren't hazardous waste to be disposed of hazardous waste is 10 times plus more. Right. So we kind of take a look at what is actually hazardous by doing a quick audit of your vehicle, and then allowing you to go to the chemical table. It's all drive-through, so folks never have to leave their vehicle. And one of my goals as customer service is to get you in and out of there as quick as possible, because I don't want to wait at the transfer station for a half an hour on an awesome sunny Saturday. I'd rather go out and do other things. But I'm really grateful when people are patient and hang out in line, and I audit the amount of time it takes to get through the line, and it's usually never more than 45 minutes, which sounds atrocious, but it's not that bad.
It's not. Bring some good tunes on the car, maybe a snack kind of thing. You have some numbers for us that have been collected in the town of Barnstable. I think our residents would be astounded at some of those numbers.
It's pretty fascinating. So Barnstable County, one of the ways that we serve the town of Barnstable and all 15 towns on the Cape is we take detailed survey information and waste summary information, and are able to give that to the towns at a moment's notice. So last year we collected 55,170 pounds of hazardous waste from Barnstable residents, which parses out to 11,365 gallons. And really, if you were to picture it in your head, what does that look like? It's 148 55-gallon drums. And of that, I think this is kind of interesting, but I'm a trash nerd, like I told you. 36 55-gallon drums of pesticides. So I think about when people talk about having a clean Cape, what does that mean? Well, it means bringing your pesticides to the hazardous waste collection. 12 55-gallon drums of gasoline. Wow. And when you think about what the EPA says, that 1 gallon of gasoline can contaminate 1 million gallons of drinking water, 12 55-gallon drums of gasoline really adds up to make a positive difference for our drinking water. We collected 27 55-gallon drums of flammable sludge from residents of Barnstable.
Flammable sludge.
Sounds awesome, right? Why would I have that in my home? That's like oil-based paints, stains, stuff that has been sitting around the garage, the basement, the outbuilding, the barn, the shed, whatever.
And I certainly don't want that in my water.
No, you don't want to drink that. And we have these big boxes, they're big cardboard boxes called T-packs. And in addition to the 27 55-gallon drums of the sludge, we collected 20 of those T-packs. It's quite a lot. 3,800 plus pounds of needles. We work with the fire districts and the departments across the Cape to collect sharps. So we have a bunch of drop-off locations the county does in the town of Barnstable. And so we collected 3,850 pounds of needles from residents of Barnstable with the help and cooperation of Calm Fire, Katuitt Fire, West Barnstable, Barnstable Village Fire Department, etc. We collected 504 flares, so people that go boating, that use flares for safety or in their vehicles, those expire, and then what do you do with them after? Those flares contain perchlorates, and perchlorates are regulated in drinking water in Massachusetts and at the federal level now as well. So Barnstable County collects those with the cooperation and help of fire districts and departments and DPWs. And lastly, a number that I think is kind of interesting, Considering I collect this in incredibly small amounts, we collected 7.8 pounds of mercury. So thermostats, thermometers, games. Folks find like little jars or bottles in their home. You know, guys used to think there was going to have some commodity value attached to it at some point, so they would like aggregate it in a can and then put it in the garage and then forget about it or pass away, and then their family has to kind of manage it. So 7.8 pounds of mercury.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's quite a lot.
Yeah, and if you think of all of that, that could have potentially gone into our water system is just astounding.
The water system we share with everybody else on the Cape. And our visitors, you know, for the blue economy, we rely very much on a clean and healthy environment, because if you, besides the fried clam aspect, everyone's kind of an eco-tourist when they come here, right? They're coming for our beaches, to recreate on our ponds and lakes and fish in our streams and rivers and, you know, our coastal embayments. And if those are polluted, you know, our blue economy doesn't really mean much.
Exactly.
So it's incredibly important, and I love the passion that people bring to this, because they show up and they want to do the right thing. You know, these people, I didn't collect this on my own. It was because residents of the town of Barnstable made the difference. You know, they showed up and they disposed of their waste appropriately. So, you know,
That's
it's all
the
down.
numbers, they're all there, and you know, kudos to the residents of Barnstable. Hopefully we're going to see a lot more of them. June 23rd, 9 to 12, and then there's 4 a year, so the next one after June?
We have one in August and one in September. All of the information is at loveyourlocalwater.org, a Barnstable County website, and it gives all the information, including an audit. So if folks are like, what is hazardous and what is not, it kind of breaks it down by parts of your home, like your garage, your basement, under your sink in your kitchen, what's in the, you know, the bathroom, etc., and allows you to understand what's hazardous and what's not. So that's all at Love Your Local Water, including all the dates for all the towns on the Cape. Barnstable is there as well.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much, Calliope.
It's my pleasure. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
The community calendar. HOW is a nonprofit organization that creates mindful wellness programs that are both informational and inspirational, and will present Wellness Wednesday in the Coyle Community Room at the Centerville Library on August 22nd. Learn how to integrate mindful wellness into your life. Local singer Alicia Matheson will talk and sing about how to make your heart sing, plus a lesson on the importance of living with an attitude of gratitude. 6:30 p.m., social time with healthy smoothies. 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m., formal program. There is no charge for Wellness Wednesdays, but please RSVP at 774-487-6469. Here's a look at the meeting schedule this week for boards, commissions, and committees. Comments, suggestions, accolades? Connect with us on Facebook, email us, or send us an old-fashioned note by carrier pigeon. Channel 18 works. For you. I'm Paula Hersey, and thank you for watching Barnstable Today.